Panopticon, favorite black metal band. Finally got some CDs. Gonna turn this down a little bit. What's up? Welcome back to Melanie Loves Black Metal. Got a couple things to show you today. I got an awesome package on Saturday, and I've been spinning them ever since, so I figured I'll talk about them. Shout out to Marty, Bindrune Recordings, Heavy Metallurgy, Glorious Dead, many things, Marty Worm, all those things. He sent me a package of some awesome records, along with the order that I did of some Panopticon CDs. So Panopticon is a band that I don't own on CD. I only have vinyl records, and I really wanted to get some of these. So I went over to Binder and I picked up the last two albums. This one is from, like, what, a year and a half, 2 years ago. This is one before that. So, yeah, favorite black metal band right now. Definitely Austin is incredible. So if you're looking for Panopticon on CD, Bindrune has a couple of the albums in stock. Go grab them. I think Ben, you mentioned, not Ben Brain Smasher, different Ben, that you wanted some more Panopticon on CD. So I feel like that was you in a video a long time ago. But yeah, Marty sent me a package. And in that package with my order, he sent me 3 records that I want to talk about today. All black metal. So he knows that I'm diving back into black metal. And he wanted to send over some stuff that he knew that I would like, which was true. I liked all 3 of these albums, and I'll talk about them. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, God. Panopticon's so damn good. So the first one was one that I was probably the most excited about when I saw it. Is another Canis Dirus, or Canis Dirus, or I'm fucking butchering their name. I know I am. Independence to the Beast. So I showed off their last album last week, By the Grace of Death, and talked about how much I loved it. Well, he sent me another one by them. This is their 3rd full length, so this is the one that came out right before it, that came out back in 2020 on Bindrune Recordings, obviously. So that made me super pumped because I had mentioned that I was going to dive into their other full-length albums, and so of course he sent me one. So it also came with the CD in the jacket. Bindrune was doing that for a while, for pretty much like most of their releases for a while. I don't know if they're still doing that, and then of course a printed inner sheet of the 2 guys, and then this is actually on colored vinyl, so look away, colored vinyl haters, on just plain white, like a creamy white. The camera doesn't really show it that well. So yeah, let's talk about this album. Like I said, it's their 3rd full-length album that came out back in 2020, so the height of COVID. I obviously was not privy to this album before then, but knowing that I really enjoyed their last album that I showed you guys, that this one was probably going to be a no-brainer. I was probably going to really enjoy this one. So yeah, this one is basically a little bit more, I would say, like a frostbitten sound. Definitely a little bit more raw in that sense. It's got a very like rock woven energy. Like there's on the second side of the album, Extreme Might of Resolve, the song, there's like a rock lead in there. Like it's a very like heavy metal style rock type of lead. The second half of this album is very like atmospheric, and very like moving and cathartic in a way, but very atmospheric. Not as heavy and angry and dark sounding as the first side A. So, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's cold and hypnotic. I like to say hypnotic is a very good word. It's got full of just raw emotion, similar to their last album that I talked about. But in between, those blast beats and the tremolo riffs, there are moments where the band just like loosens up. That ferociousness kind of goes away, and they put more of like a slower vibe into it. There's piano and like I said, there's that like rock and roll element on the second side of the album. But yeah, like you can hear it. There's like driving bass lines and just that just really like ferocious raw sound. It's once again a very emotional album. Nothing really like happy toning sound whatsoever. It's got a bleakness to it, but it at the same time makes you kind of like feel alive and like you're like out in the wilderness essentially, which is pretty much, I believe, like the overall theme of this band and in that area. Like they're based out of Minnesota, so if you're familiar with Minnesota, there's a lot of landscapes up there and forestry and stuff like that. So I feel like this is a really good album to listen to in the winter, especially if you're just out in a cabin and it's just snowing. Like this is like the perfect style of album, I would say. But it doesn't just have like this darkness. There's like almost like a declaration of like freedom through it, like independence to the beast. Like it's almost feels like they're just releasing so much emotion and like so much just like thoughtfulness into what they're writing. And that's why I really, really enjoy this band, because they have a very I guess you could say like unique style in the way that they play their black metal. Like yes, it has like I said, more of that raw production sound, but it's a very dynamic and melancholy feeling album. It's got fury in it, and it's got a very, very like defiant style to it, but also like within that melancholy there's this like almost like prettiness to it, I guess you could say. It's a very moving album, just like their last album that I showed, By the Grace of Death. This band is easily one of my favorite new bands that I've come across to listen to in regards to black metal. They do it in a way that is really captivating to me. And I really, really enjoy this album. So Marty was right on hit the nail on the head for knowing that I was going to enjoy this one as well. So now I need to go back and listen to their first full length and review that one. So yeah, Canis Dirus or Canis Dirus, I don't know. Independence to the Beast on Bindrune Recordings. Check it out. So in that same package, he also sent me another album that I knew came out back when it did, but I never listened to it. And this is Paths with, the hell was this called again? Oh yeah. In Lands Thought Lost. That's kind of like a jumbled up way of saying it. Paths, this came out in 2018. It's the third full-length album. As far as I was seeing, it's a one-man black metal project, but the cool thing about this album is Austin from Panopticon does the session drums on it, and that is definitely a huge standout on this album for sure. So a really, really nice matte style of jacket. I love the artwork on this. I'll find out who that is in a second. And in the back, and just the artwork basically tells you the style of black metal that you're about to listen to, with that frosty landscape in there. Printed inner sheet here, and then here he is. His name is Michael Taylor. And like I said, Austin does the session drums in here. And it looks like Michael pretty much did everything else on here. The front cover is by Soft Gel Design. I might have butchered that. If you want to pause, go ahead and do that. And then of course this is also on color. My favorite color, a very nice red vinyl. So this came out back in 2016. Like I said, it's the third full-length album. I'd never heard anything by Paths whatsoever. So the first listen to this, I immediately was drawn in with the style that it is. It's definitely atmospheric black metal. Like I said, that frosty style. It's just a very ferocious lyrics. And Austin's drumming is simply phenomenal on this. Definitely one of the standouts. It feels like you're stepping into like a melancholic, like dark winterscape. It's got a bit of a raw sound to it, but not like super raw. The production is also good too. If you know what I'm saying, like the vocals are raw, but the production also sounds good, so you can hear every instrumentation, you can hear the vocals. The mix is really really well together. But it's deeply atmospheric. It's just full of emotional weight, and there's even a little bit of melodic black metal energy to it. But it never really feels like forced or overdone whatsoever. It's definitely just an unrelenting, ferocious album, though. A lot of just, his vocals are so good, and vocals are a really big thing for me in black metal. Like I love the like really like screamy, ferocious style of vocals, and that's really his. And like they're just so balanced, and yeah, it's just aggressive. It's an aggressive album. But the guitars are phenomenal. The drums, like I said, are phenomenal on here. But yeah, it's definitely got like almost like a spiritual current running through the whole entire record. It's like you can tell it's again emotional. It's got a lot of meaning into the music that's being made. But yeah, it's consuming for sure. It's definitely not something that I like. You kind of have to digest it a little bit. It took me about 2 or 3 listens before I just was like really connected to it. And he's got like this way of just the way his emotion in his vocals and the way that he sings and the way like it's almost like he's saying what I'm trying to say is like he's putting thoughts into music that for me is like hard to like really explain what that, like you have to listen to it, like it's an experience almost. And that's, a lot of atmospheric black metal I say that about because that's really what it is. But it really lingers with you after you listen to it. It's got a very cathartic feeling to it, that's for sure. Just a very emotional, aggressive, just ferocious is like my favorite word, and I've said that like 100 times, album. Quite enjoyed it a lot. One that I probably, if I'm like really in the mood for the frosty black metal, where I'll put like Panphage de Hiver, I fucking can never say that name, or anything like that, this will go into that rotation. And that tends to be a lot of the black metal style I listen to. Similar into the vein, not as like depressive sounding, but Offski is a really good comparison where it's just emotive and just ferocious at you. Not as high pitched as Offski, but it's got like that feeling to it. So kind of what I could compare it to is that. But yeah, very, very good album. Like I said, took me a couple of listens to digest, but really enjoyed it. And man, I love this artwork. It just goes so well with the album. Like it really, really does set up the tone for what you're about to listen to. So Paths, Inlands, Thought, Lost. I can never say that. It's like a tongue twister. Check this out. And then finally, the last album in that package ended up being probably my favorite one, to be honest with you, out of the 3 that he sent me. This one, again, is a band that I had never heard of, never heard before, and as soon as I put it on, I was hooked as soon as I heard this album. I believe you say Panphage or Panphage, I don't know, and I'm not even going to try to say that, so I don't speak Swedish. So, yeah, I can't. But anyway, this is a band out of Sweden. This is their second full-length album that came out back in 2016 on Nordvis production. Again, I'd never heard this band before. I had no idea what to expect. And I would say the overall image here probably gives a good indication that this is a very like Nordic style of black metal. Very medieval sounding at times, almost Viking sounding at times. Reminds me a little bit of the Bathory Viking style of albums, but more in a theatrical style of singing that's almost similar to the Hellenic black metal scene, just the Greek scene, just a tiny bit. It reminded me a little bit of that too, so it's got a lot of those blends. But here's the printed inner sheet, and yeah, there you go. Again, I wasn't too familiar with this band at all, so I didn't really know what to expect when I turned it on. I assumed by the cover that it might have just been more atmospheric, and there definitely is atmospheric elements to it, but like I said, it's got more of that Nordic sound to it. Blue vinyl, black splatter, very nice. So yeah, again, it really pulled me in as soon as I heard it. It's got more of like, definitely more of the more modern style of like that Nordic black metal sound, but definitely a little bit more of a raw, like ancient style of recording. So it's not like clean production whatsoever. But every time I listen to it, it just feels like I'm wandering into like a fog covered hill of like just all this mythology and like Norse mythology and like history. Like that's what it makes me feel like. It's a very like theatrical style of black metal with that. The riffs are just very rough, but they're triumphant, like rough and like just aggressive, but very triumphant at times. It's got a lot of folk spirit to it. There's folkiness to it. Is that the right word? Nordic folk? You know what I'm saying? But like I said, production stays raw enough to keep the music rounded and, you know, just aggressive and that black metal spirit to it. But it definitely, the thing that I love the most about it is that it really balances melody with savagery. So it's got very melodic feels to it, and like I said, like almost like chanting style of vocals that are very grandiose at times. But then there's that relentless black metal ferocity underneath it. There's always like a sense of pride and purpose that you feel on this album. It's like a warrior's heart beating, like that's what it feels like this is their battle cry, I guess you could say. But it's so good. It's so captivating. Every single song is so good about it. There's almost like a romanticizing aspect to it as well, I guess you could say. But it's very cold and fierce, and it's got a really real tone to it. Again, those like Swedish folkiness into this is very, very good. It's got a perfect blend of that, and this made me like, I fell in love with this band as soon as I heard it. So I need to go back and listen to their other albums. I think they have, I can't remember how many they have out right now, but like I said, this is their second full-length album. So yeah, again, another phenomenal pick from Marty here that he knew I was gonna like. I was blown away by this. Really, really, really love this album. So Panphage, I think that's how you say their name. Check this out. And then finally, the last thing I have to show you, this was not in Marty's package, but it did come in the mail last week that I was pretty pumped about. I got it through NWN, Nuclear War Now Productions. I can't say their name. Stang Gregel, I think is how you say their name. This is an EP that they put out in 2023 that came out on Medieval Prophecy Records. I have their first full-length album. I can't pronounce the name of it. I can't pronounce the name of this either. Just good luck. So I finally picked this up when I saw it sitting on NWN's distro. And I was like, yeah, I need to have that because I love this band. I love this band. Their first album came out back in 2022, and I remember I showed the CD off and talked about how much I loved it. Also, Ben Brainsmasher was a huge fan of this band and went into extreme detail about that album. They also have a new album out now this year that also came out on Medieval Prophecy. I have not been able to get it yet. It's a little expensive. It wasn't NWM. I think Metal Curations has it right now, but it's like $50 with shipping. So I'm taking a little bit of a break on spending money on expensive vinyl. So if they still have it after I get paid, I'll probably grab it because that album is phenomenal too. It's going to be one of my favorite black metal releases this year. So here's just a nice little printed lyric sheet, and then it's just on classic black. and it's dead wax on one side because again it's just an EP. So yeah, this is raw black metal. Still very much in the same vein as their first full-length album. Lots of atmosphere built into it and a lot of dungeon synth. And I think the dungeon synth is probably my favorite part about this EP. It's only 3 tracks, 21 minutes long. Dungeon synth is very hit or miss for me. Like, I either really, really enjoy it or I like that build up, and then like we talked about on the Fomorian Productions interview, like there's a build up and then like nothing extravagant happens. Like, that kind of drives me nuts. But for this, it goes really, really well together, and they incorporate dungeon synth into their sound so well, and it's just something about this band that I really, really enjoy. Like I said, it's raw black metal, but the production isn't so raw that you can't hear the vocals. Like, yeah, you may need to turn the volume up just a tiny bit, but you can still hear all the instrumentation. But yeah, just a simply phenomenal EP, and like I said, their full length that came out this year is also phenomenal. In terms of that raw black metal sound, I love when they incorporate the dungeon synth in there. I think it just goes so well together. It builds such a great atmosphere, and that this band does that perfectly. I feel like out of probably all of these releases that I showed off today, aside from Panopticon, this one is been out there already a lot on the YouTube space. I'm obviously very behind on black metal, but yeah, I love this band. Definitely one of the best black metal bands out there. And I forgot to say where they were from, so let me pull that up. For some reason, I don't have it in my notes. They are from Slovakia. So yeah, they're a Slavic band. But yeah, like I said, that dungeon synth is very prevalent on here. Like, the second track is only a dungeon synth instrumental track, but it's very good, and it goes really well. It's like a really good transitioning song into the final track on here, which is like 9 minutes long, but just super, when they do the raw black metal, it's so good, and they do it perfectly. So yeah, I'm in love with this band. Their new full-length album that's out this year, I cannot wait to get it. I've been listening to it on Bandcamp and wherever else, on YouTube, wherever else it is. Actually, I don't think it's on Bandcamp. I don't remember. Anyway, I know I've heard it on YouTube a couple of times, and that's pretty much where I listen to most of the music too anyway. But yeah, phenomenal stuff. So yeah, if you haven't checked out this EP yet, highly recommend it if you're looking for it. There's also a CD available, I believe a cassette tape too on NWN if you're looking for it. And Medieval Prophecy is based out of Belgium. So they can be a little bit tough to get their releases into the US. So it's nice that they get distroed like that. Also, Arcane Altar has this as well, I believe on CD and cassette tape too. So yeah, check it out. And Hell's Headbanger sometimes carries their stuff too. But yeah, check this out. It is simply phenomenal. That is it for my black metal update. I do have several other releases coming in the mail, so I'll probably have a few more of these until the end of the year. Been really, really diving into black metal, like I said, having a lot of fun. But before I go, shout out to that Goat Metal Show. Rich sent me this. The boys, Barry, Tone, and Rich, this awesome shirt. I love this artwork, man. It just goes so perfect with them. Shout out to them for sending this to me. Check out that Goat Metal Show. And that's all I have. I'll see you guys in the next one.